up, guys? I am here with my good friend ArjunA, and we are back for another video. And today, hi ArjunA. Everybody misses you on your channel and stuff. So it is an honor and a pleasant. It just makes me happy to be here doing this with you. So I love our conversations and everything. So I think this is going to be another good conversation, and hopefully the people that watch this video will agree with that. Um, so today's video is really, it was going to be about like sort of not debunking, but just going into depth about the Gallery of Magick and their sort of origins, where they get like their magic and stuff from. And the Gallery of Magick is essentially pretty like, let me see if I can place this here a little bit. They're pretty open about where they get their sources, like it's not a secret. They say in a lot of their books that the source, and on their website too, you can go on the Gallery of Magick website and just see, like, they don't go into complete detail because honestly it would take time and research to really study the ancient texts that a lot of the origins of this magic are from. And of course, the Gallery of Magick isn't the only magic out there, right? It's just one branch, but there's all sorts of different branches. So, I guess so. Today's video is kind of going to be talking about that. It's going to be magic related. We kind of just have conversations, and they end up like blossoming into something. So we'll see where this goes. But would you like to start us off on the book that you have, or whatever points that you wanted to bring to the table?
Yeah, I'll start off on the book in a minute. Let me introduce myself for anybody who doesn't know. ArjunA AdjinnA here. Good friends with Pixie Dust. We are many states away now, but we actually used to live in the same state, so we know each other in real life. But man, it's awesome to be here. I love these conversations. Like you said, it blossoms into something totally it can get out there, but it turns out, according to the comments in the last one, people were following along. So I'm grateful. So thank you guys for your feedback, and it's awesome to be back here to do another one. Like Pixie Dust was sharing, we are going to do a little bit of a discussion on the Gallery of Magick stuff. So I'll start since you gave me the opportunity to do so. From what I understand, based on my limited research and things that I've done, Gallery of Magick seems to be based on a form of chaos magic, which is kind of like a style of magic that you can do without having any type of altars. Like, you don't need candles, you don't need all that ritual stuff you see in TV shows and movies and stuff. Like the crazy 10 people in wizard gowns and stuff. Gallery of Magic stuff doesn't require any of that. And what I started to understand from it is like a condensed version from the Ars Goetia. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Goetia, however you say it. So it's like a condensed version of that. What is it? Goetia? Yeah, Goetia. Yeah. And I just found out from you before we started recording that some of this stuff actually came from 2700 BC. It's like almost 5,000 years ago. That was the earliest instances of magic, I believe, is what you said, right?
Yeah, and not necessarily the Gallery of Magic. So that is more so Mesopotamian magic, from my understanding, and ancient Egyptian magic. But I mean, still, magic is magic, right? So just the practice of magic has been taking place before biblical times. I mean, before like almost 5,000 years ago. That's a long time ago. It's a bit incomprehensible. I mean, it's not as old as the planet, but for this ancient sort of practice to be carried on for thousands and thousands of years, there's got to be something to it. There's got to be like a truth. It has to work, right? I mean, otherwise, why would it still be existing in whatever sort of concept or way that it exists?
And obviously it has to work, like you're saying. Why would it evolve over time to what it is now if it didn't work? But it's also interesting because the Mesopotamian, uh, though that magic must be, because we're going to talk about Gallery of Magick. I just want to touch on this really briefly. Uh, Mesopotamian magic is actually cannot be related to the Gallery of Magick because they're based on different systems altogether. Maybe there's some overlap, perhaps, based on when the different cultures interpreted their form of spiritual practice. The Ars Goetia is basically part of the Lesser Key of Solomon, if I'm not mistaken, or is like somehow related to that. And the 72 is like a very, uh, I guess not sacred, but sacred number the in the Hebrews section or the demonology and the angelology or whatever, because that 72 comes from the 72 syllables of the Tetragrammaton, if I'm not mistaken, is what it's called, which is the 72 syllable name for the actual being, the greatest being, that, or God, if you will, uh, the supreme God. And so each syllable has a fleshed out version, which turns into each angel's name. I don't have any like specific examples off the top of my head, but let's say 72 different syllables. One of them would be Yeh, and through that Yeh, you would get Yehuel, and that would be the angel's name. And that angel would also correspond, because the angel is in the higher plane, it also corresponds as above, so below. It corresponds with the demon in the lower plane, and whatever the relationship is between Yehuel and the corresponding demon. I'm not sure what it is, but that's kind of how the name of God, the Hebrew God, the 72 syllable name of God, within that contains the the access to these various spirits. And that's kind of how, at least in the angels of magic and the demons of magic and the angels of alchemy, all that stuff, at least for those, that's how it kind of functions there. So that's that's what I wanted to share on that.
That's man, I haven't heard that word in a while, the Tetragrammaton. And the Gallery of Magick doesn't reference that specific, like they don't ever say the Tetragrammaton, I don't think, in any of their books. Like when I was reading through their, what they find as their sources, and I remember we talked about this in one of the Wealth Magic podcasts, where for some reason they don't like that word. I don't know. Maybe they don't like it, but they just don't use it. And you mentioned Angels of Alchemy, and one of the other, I guess, sources, ancient Hebrew texts that is referenced, and not just in Angels of Alchemy, but I believe in, well, 72 angels, is the Shorshe Hashemot, which is where the 42 divine names of God come from. And this is like, I was trying to research this before we started recording the video, and just before earlier today, and it's a challenge to like decipher that, because first of all, it's in Hebrew, but the Gallery of Magick plainly says in their books, like in Angels of Alchemy and in, I think, even Words of Power, that the words that they use in these books come from these divine names from the Shorshe Hashemot. And some of the other ones, there's another one that he mentioned, that Damon Brand mentioned in a book, which was the Oedipus Egyptiacus, which I had never heard before, but I believe he said that in the Angels of Alchemy, or said that that was a source, but it's also in Latin. So a lot of these, I like what you said about the chaos magic, because it's like the Gallery of Magick uses these sources, these ancient texts or whatever, and they sort of just like create their own, through trial and error and practice what works and what doesn't work. They create their own, system essentially of magic, using, that's all rooted in the same thing, rooted in these different old ancient sources. But it is chaos magic in the sense that, like, they're sort of picking and choosing and modifying things um, in order to make it usable and reachable and accessible by any user, essentially, because you don't have to be like a well-versed magician or an experienced magician or practitioner to do this magic. I mean, you could just be like, I mean, I was, yeah, like when I picked up the or not the the Magickal Cashbook, I had no previous experience, and just an open mind, and it worked. But like, you don't have to have like this knowledge beforehand or anything, and so they make it user friendly, essentially. And they say that it ultimately doesn't matter where the texts come from, or where their like books, where they get the information from. But it's just sometimes fun to know, and I like to sort of dissect it and get into like dive deeper, I guess, into the sources. But a lot of these are limited documents, or limited papers, or whatever. Oh, the back of my earring just came off. And so it has, from what I understand, it has taken this group that calls themselves the Gallery of Magick, a lot of time and effort to create these books and to put together these workings as they have, which is really amazing. I think I read somewhere, either on their website or something, that there's 17 members in the Gallery of Magick, and they remain anonymous. So, and I don't know if that number is still true. Not all 17 are published authors, I don't think, at least not in the Gallery of Magick. But to have 17 different members, or people of different occult backgrounds, I'm assuming, to create this gallery of magic. I mean, it's very impressive, and they've done a good job in simplifying it. Because we are talking about these ancient texts, which you can find online. I mean, I did find some PDF documents of English translations, but even still, like, if you're really trying to read it, like, a lot of the English translations are sometimes not as accurate, but I mean, I can't read Hebrew, so English is really the only thing that I'm going to be able to like understand. But yeah, and I will say, with the Magickal Cashbook, that came from the Noctemeron of Apollonius of Tiana, which dates back to the 1st century AD. So that's at least 2,000 years ago. So I mean, even if like what the Gallery of Magick is using isn't coming from 2700 BC, because right, like the Mesopotamian magic was completely different, but still a branch of magic. But still, 2,000 years ago is where the first sort of recognition of the genius spirits came in, the genie of the 12 hours, and not to be confused with the jinn, which have sort of like a bad, malevolent reputation, but genius spirits. So, and and I mean, you have to have some knowledge of the occult and of this stuff to even begin to think about, I'm gonna make a book called the Magickal Cashbook, and get it to work for people, and use this spirit, like how did they do that? Some of that had to have been like channeled, or like divine intervention or something. I don't know. I mean, obviously, like, I'm not in touch with any of the magic, but it's just very impressive, the way that they've, like, what's the word I'm looking for, combined, no, I don't know, the way that they've just like simplified it. That's not the word I was looking for.
You were touching on so much stuff. First, the genius spirits, which I'm gonna be honest, I haven't practiced magic in years. It's been a long time. So when you brought up genius spirit, I was like, oh my god, I remember those. Like, that's a whole subsection of this, which not many people really talk about. Just in magic in general. But then the documentation on the genius spirits is very slim. When I did research on those, I want to say 7 years ago or something like that. I could barely find any sources, and even the Magickal Cashbook that you were talking about, the Spirit Nithika, uh, it's actually based loosely. Okay, you mentioned the original source from the first AD, right? Was it the first century AD is when the Cashbook was based off of? Okay,
Yes.
there was another author in the 80s or 90s or something like that that made his or her own version of the Magickal Cashbook, but it was a thick book. It was like really, really thick.
Hmm.
So this author was using the spirit of Nithika and like teaching how to utilize Nithika to get what you want. But I don't know how Damon Brand did it, but he condensed that down to like what is it, like 20 pages, 30 pages, very small book.
Yeah.
Very easy to perform.
Yeah.
Wasn't it your first foray into magic, the Magickal Cashbook?
It was. It
Yeah, I
was.
remember that. I remember. I
Yeah.
was like, you should do that because it's probably the easiest thing you could do.
Yes. Yeah. And it was, and it worked. I mean, and I still use it. I mean, I haven't used it like in a few months, excuse me, but when I need it, I used it last year. I made a video about the results of that. I have several Magickal Cashbook videos. I have a special place in my heart for that book because it's also the first like video that I put on YouTube, like was my success with the
Yeah.
Magickal Cashbook. But anyways, but continue with what you're gonna say.
Yeah, no. That's proof that it worked. That was if anybody's wondering, I mean, if somebody's on this video right now, chances are they've done magic because we're actually kind of like in the third level of magic what we're discussing. We're not talking about novice level stuff. But if for some reason you're in your research phase, that would be a great book to start with. Just very
Mm-hmm.
cut and dry, simple instructions. You can ask for something as small as $10, $20, $30, whatever. It'll find its way to you somehow within those 11, 15, I think it's 11 days or something. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to what I was saying about, let's see, the sources and the origin. So I talked a little bit about the Nithika. Now I want to shift gears a little bit back to uh, the 72 angels, 72 demons. Uh, oh, never mind. So I was actually wrong. I misrepresented this. It's not the 72 letters syllable thing. It's actually 72
Mm-hmm.
names of God, which
Uh-huh.
uh the source of those 72 names is actually found within the Hebrew Bible within Exodus 14 verse 19 through 21. And it's within that. It's encoded. The 72 names of God is encoded within that verse or that phrase or however you say it. So that's kind of how it's mind blowing to me that doing this magic is deeply rooted in Abrahamic faiths, which is, I guess, Judeo Christian. I guess even Islam branches out of that, the Muslims, because the jinn, it, yeah, the jinn are directly referenced in Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the Judeo-Christian pantheon because the Jews believe in the same God as the Christians and the Muslims, I guess. Um, but they call it different things, and there's obviously differences in the religions. That's why they're different in the first place. But they're all rooted
Mm-hmm.
in the same type of mysticism, esoteric concepts. And I'm sorry, I'm getting way off track here.
That's okay.
But yeah, the there's 72 letters. Just to correct my previous error, it's not the 72 syllables, it's the 72 names. And then Damon Brand, from my understanding, and there's some theories out there. In fact, I was part of a coven back in 2016. We called ourselves the Shadow Circle. We still talk to each other. We're all doing different things now, but
Yeah.
one of the guys told me that he has this lurking suspicion that all the authors are actually the same person. But there is some documentation out there that there are many people in Gallery of Magic that their coven has many people. Because I don't think one
Mm.
person is going to be able to easily uh, access all the information. At least some members are in the United States, some members are in Europe.
The
Who
UK.
knows where the rest are and how many of them are? Yeah, UK,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the it takes a lot of research and a lot of different people just dedicating well, because if I'm not mistaken, Damon Brand is also is an author in his real life, but he goes by a different name. But he's also an author under a different name, under Damon Brand, to sell magic books, but really to teach. I don't think he's really selling the magic books to make money. I mean, he's not trying to become rich through that.
Right.
Because he's giving this information freely that doesn't like make you have to keep buying the next book just to know what to do next. Like everything that you need is contained within each book until you're ready to go on to a different topic. Then you can buy one of his other books.
Yeah.
Or the gallery books. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, I don't believe that it's a way for him to make money. I think it's a way to maybe just keep the evolution and practice of magic going, you know, and to share the knowledge that they've created, not created, but that they've found and condensed and to make it accessible and usable and everything. You know, because by doing this, like, I mean, just you and I and some of the other friends of ours who are familiar with the Gallery of Magic. I mean, by through these books, I've discovered the ancient texts such as the Shorshe Hashemot and like the sixth and seventh book of Moses, and all these old things. You know, so there's a lot that is sort of being uncovered through the practice of Damon of the Gallery of Magic books, and that's not the case for everyone, and that didn't happen right away. Like my first time using the Magickal Cashbook, I actually was not at all curious really about where Nitika came from or anything. I just sort of trusted that this person knew what they were talking about in the book, and I was gonna do what it said, and it worked. And so, but you know, as I've continued to practice, it's like, well, where does this come from? And then lately, I've been listening to this YouTuber for Forbidden Knowledge, Billy Carson, a lot, and he doesn't specifically talk about magic, but he really uncovers like the biblical texts, and he goes back and reads like the Sumerian tablets, and this is getting a little bit off topic, and stories such as like the Epic of Gilgamesh, and he's the one where I heard the term like Annunaki, and so I wonder, kind of tying back into magic a little bit. I wonder if in these like ancient civilizations, because this is like that 2700 BC being the oldest record of magic is just the oldest record that we have. It's not necessarily the oldest practice. It's not necessarily the first time
Right.
like practicing magic. It's just the first time that it was written down or something. So these ancient civilizations, you know, like, and this is getting out there a little bit, but like Atlantis and you know, I can't speak too much on that, but and the pyramids, I mean, these there's all these theories and stories and even like factual textual evidence of how they were like constructed by sort of, you know, by extraterrestrial beings. I mean, these Anunnaki, beings from other planets. So my point being, that the information and you know the secret codings and the symbolism and just magic in general, I wonder, like, surely that wasn't a human made thing, you know, like idea. I mean, it must have been there must have been like some divine intervention or something, you know, or some alien from another planet came down and was like, hey, here's this book and figure out things. I mean, sure, like, I'm not to discredit humans and our intelligence and stuff, obviously, but you know, like, there's, when you go as far back as these like ancient texts and stuff, and and to the point where like you can't even find out anymore because like it hasn't been written down, like you begin to wonder where it really came from, where the knowledge came from. And I don't know, and why has it also remained so hidden over the years. I mean, it's remained hidden because it works. I mean, I've said in several videos like that, you know, why the occult is a cult and why people shun it and stuff. And we could get into the whole like separation or that's like another video. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, these are all theories that I have. You know, this is not fact. I don't have any answers. You know, it's just kind of things to ponder. And just the way that it's evolved, that the Gallery of Magic like brings this information to us is really interesting. And I like what you said. That's kind of an interesting fact that about all the Gallery of Magic authors being the same person. Um, you never know. I mean, they don't write the same, but you know, a good writer can change the tone of their writing. So like that easily like, you know, switch that up and write as Adam Blackthorne one day or Zana Blaze. And I don't have a Blaze book, but I think you know, I think those are just as good books too. But um yeah, and I read some other novels that are non-magical. This is a little not related. Well, it is related. From UK authors, and I wonder sometimes if it's Damon Brand that I'm reading, but like not as Damon Brand. So there's no way to know. I'm not gonna find out, you know. But it's kind of fun to think about and really fascinating. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Like you said, it's like chaos magic. You don't really need anything to do this. Like you just need the book and a space and the time. You know, you don't need an altar, you don't need all this stuff. But it's fun to go dig deeper and just kind of find out like I don't know, more to it. There's always more. Like diving deeper into like where these people got them because these are just people like you and me, you know. Maybe with a little more occult knowledge, but but you know, not Annunaki. So
I'll touch on that in a second, but what you just described, like chances are, if people are watching videos like this, they are curious enough, and that level of curiosity, because that's how what sparked my interest. That's what sparked your interest. The reason we're having this conversation, yeah, we were practicing Gallery of Magic, Chaos Magic style. Like you don't need to know this stuff, but it's just so intriguing. How does this work? What is this based off of? Like these inquiring minds want to know. The more knowledge you get, the better equipped you are. And I think to have a framework and mental framework and understanding of how it fits with everything in the universe, like what is this small part that the magic plays in the fabric of everything that is everything, it helps me to put things together and be more confident and not question the magic because I know that something somewhere out there is working behind the scenes and I don't have to see it, I don't have to feel it, I don't have to know that it's working. I don't have to question it's working because I know it is. Uh, but on the subject of like Anunnaki and other civilization, Babylonian civilizations and things like that. I'm a huge Twitter head right now. Like I'm absolutely in love with Twitter, which is now known as X. There's a creator named Open Minded Approach. OMA, well, OM Approach basically. And so if anybody's curious on how magic, like this author, I think it's a guy, I'm just gonna say it's a guy, the way he writes and the way he puts things together, like he's really trying to explain how other civilizations besides humanity exists, but there's so many correspondences with magic, and sigils and like he uses a lot of sigils from the Goetia and describes how those type of beings might actually be transdimensional creatures that can phase in and out of the earth through these sigils. And so if I take that knowledge of what he described in his post and associate that with my knowledge of magic, that's what we're doing with magic. We're using the sigils to make contact to bring them into this dimension to do work for us. And they're beings, they're transdimensional beings, and because they're from a different dimension, I can't see them or perceive them with my five senses because I'm a human. And as a human with five senses, how can I perceive these other beings from a different dimension? But you know, it's like uh, a lot of people might call them aliens, but maybe they call them extraterrestrials. But who knows? But it's fun to brainstorm about these things. So if anybody's curious, and if you're a Twitter head like I am, like OM Approach, open minded approach, his profile picture at the moment, time of recording, is a monkey. So
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that. And the thing running through my head right now is like, holy shit, like sigils and talismans are portals, essentially. I mean, allowing or doorways, bringing in, which I mean, I guess I kind of already knew this, but it never like clicked in my head as much as it is right now. But you know, it's like you're bringing, like that's sort of the gate or the way to bring in these beings, whether you want to call them aliens or whatever. But to view this as a portal to another dimension, I mean, my mind just sort of blew. I think like the sins of the Goetia, um, you know, because they were, I believe, King Solomon was the one that sort of like not invented them, obviously, but like I don't know, interacted with them and wrote the put together the Goetia. And so what I was getting at was just like I wonder if that was sort of like, you know, he channeled the sigils, and the sigil, you know, is what is used as contact for this entity to appear, for this demon in this case. And so anyways, like that sort of resonates like a little bit within me, just like these sigils as portals and stuff. And maybe people who watch this are going to be like, duh, but I don't know, that
no,
just really kind of blew. So
I live for those small
that's the only
realizations.
what.
I live for those small realizations, like when they click, when something clicks, like, oh man, now it all starts to make sense. I don't think many people would have put two and two together, because this is something that the reason I came across this information is because I was looking into extraterrestrials, but then I saw that one of their crafts, apparently, okay, I won't talk too much about this. It had a sigil of something that was very similar to what was on the seal of Solomon, or from the seals of Solomon. So that's what got me down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think we've
Mm.
come pretty close to talking about a lot of different things. What are some things that you can suggest we might close with, or how should we leave the audience wanting another episode?
um well, that is a good question. I guess, you know, just closing with like, I think for me, I want to do more like research and just dig a little bit deeper into some of these texts and sources, and and find if like just and find other like evidence of you know, start to tie in some of these theories that we have, or not tie in, but tie up some of these theories that we have, right? Like because I know I've heard some of them before, like these beings being like extraterrestrials and whatnot. Um, so I think I've planted some seeds in my own head about where to go next with this and what we could talk about for like the next video. Um, but as far as like wrapping up this video and everything, I mean, it's none of what we've just talked about is important to practice any of the Gallery of Magick books. You know, we don't need to know this stuff. It's just sort of like the extra details that are fun to do and dive into, and I feel like not a lot of people are talking. You know, like I don't know how many users or humans like know of the Gallery of Magick. I mean, thousands most likely. But a lot of people keep it secret because it is occult knowledge. And I don't know. I mean, I keep my practices to myself and stuff, but I like to share my knowledge of what I'm learning about and talk about it with others. And I'm starting to see more and more like videos of other YouTubers talking about like magic with a K at the end, and not necessarily like the Gallery of Magic, but it's kind of coming into um people's energy, or just into the trends of I don't know, pop culture. It hasn't made it that far. I hope it never makes it into pop culture, but you know what I mean? Like, it's starting to be talked about a bit more. And it's good, and it's great, because there's a lot that can be said about it, and you know, a lot has been written down, obviously. So I think that it's good to just like keep these conversations going, and maybe to help like inspire some other people to maybe do their research on their own. Or if you have any, if anybody watching this like has any crazy ass theories about like aliens and spirits and magic, like, please share them. I mean, nothing is too out there, I feel like, as far as what we've talked about. You know, we're talking about bringing in interdimensional beings through portals that we draw on paper. So, but you know, like, magic is, life is crazy. I feel like anything's possible at this point. Like, you could tell me just about anything now, and I would believe it. Not in a naive way, but in a like, you know, like, there's not any limits to what this, there's several mysteries in the world, right? And I feel like the study of magic is sort of just a study of a mystery. And I actually, you know, to I guess kind of close, in one of Damon Grant's books, he was talking about, it might have been Archangels of Magic, he was talking about his first introduction to the word mysticism reminded him of mystery. And so, you know, essentially, like, it is still a mystery. Like, we're not talking about, like, maybe we've answered some things in this, but like a lot of it is just open-ended thoughts and ideas and theories and stuff. And even the people, like the professionals, like, even, oh, my phone's gonna die soon, we should wrap up soon, but even the people that like the Gallery of Magic, I'm sure, don't have all the answers. You know, they've just spent a lot more time than we have researching this, and so they can say more, you know, confidently. But no one has all the answers, I don't think, that's living. Well, obviously no one has all the answers, but from other people to gain more knowledge. And I don't know, and it teaches us more about like the world we live in. I mean, all of this is happening in the world we live in, you know? So, and the world that's been, and the world that we're a part of. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's so,
Yeah, that's nuts.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So
to
that's
close out on
gonna
my
wrap it.
side, if any of the viewers made it this far, congratulations, you've stuck around through our brainstorming live. None of this is really scripted. We just kind of went off the dome. But if you did make it this far, please let us know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts. Like, am I going too far out there, or are we talking about things that you're interested in? If you have any questions about something that we have talked about, we'd love to cover it in a subsequent video too, so it can help us give us some ideas. And I'm open to doing this more often, so it was awesome being here with
Hey,
you again, Pixie Dust. Another video.
of
I'm
course,
excited to see you again.
always. Yes, yeah. Happy to have you back on the channel, and I know the viewers are always happy too, and it makes me happy, our conversations and stuff. So I would be pleased to do this again anytime. So I know we will.
Yeah, and I'll be on pretty much your channel exclusively anytime for Magic. I'm not gonna be uploading to mine. So see you
Yeah.
on the next
Yeah,
one,
cool.
guys.
All right. Yeah, thank you guys for watching.
Yep.
Until next time.
Don't forget to like her
Okay.
videos. It helps her a lot.
Oh yeah. Like subscribe. I always say that. So
Bye.
thank you for the okay. Bye guys.